Nobody told me that this road would be easy. So if somebody told you that, then don't believe them. Nobody told me that this road would be easy. So if somebody told you that, then don't believe them. Gotta be refined like silver through the fire. Gotta be tried like gold through the fire. Gotta be refined like silver through the fire. Gotta be tried like gold through the fire. You ain't fighting the flesh just cause you giving in. Should've never started the race if you ain't intend to win. Adversity can destroy you or be your best friend. Just cause you fail one time don't make you less than. You just gotta be aware and correct your error. Messiah on the way back, I feel it in the air. Trying to inherit the kingdom, wanna be your fellow heir. If you ain't bring nothing to the table, can't pull up a chair. When I rebuke you, his love is just because I care. Plus when the separation happen, I don't want you to be your tail. You think you ain't gotta do nothing to get eternal life, but that misapplication of grace is a total lie. Gotta be refined like silver through the fire. Gotta be tried like gold through the fire. Gotta be refined like silver through the fire. Gotta be tried like gold through the fire.
Been through the fire like a circus lion, I ain't lying, you can ask a lion to Judah. Fire on me, but it ain't consume me, but burn the porch, hallelujah, sing fame, gold and silver. Tried in the fire, not a pretty sight. That's how you get Israelites, claiming that they no longer is the Israelites. It get hard sometimes, but growing up with me ain't good doing. I heard the devil is on the job, but I care more about what y'all doing. Shine your light here, influence, big brotherhood, big brotherhood. If we separate from us all bad, then there's nothing left, but it's all good. I lost everything in my life, Matthew 16:25. If I can do it, you can too. It only take a mustard seed of faith to thrive. Hell nah, it ain't easy, but it's no other way. Y'all's way, y'all was the way, y'all wait. Hey.
Gotta be refined like silver through the fire. Gotta be tried like gold through the fire. Gotta be refined like silver through the fire. Gotta be tried like gold through the fire. Nobody told me that this road would be easy. So if somebody told you that, then don't believe them. Nobody told me that this road would be easy. So if somebody told you that, then don't believe them. How can I ease the pain? How can I ease the pain? Gotta ease the pain, man. Gotta ease the pain. Gotta ease the pain, man. Ambulance sign, another mama crying. Shots fired, another man dying. He got a son that he left behind. So who gon' care for that man child? A vicious cycle getting carried out. We love playing it, but the game fire. Look at the scope, we getting blown out. All the pain experience got us traumatized. The important gets minimized, and our children get penalized. It's like we don't wanna realize that the time for a change is right now. We gotta turn to the Most High. Scripture got the answers that we can't find. This is time to get revitalized. Before we send his son back and we out of time. How can I ease the pain? How can I? Now how can I ease the pain? Gotta ease the pain, man. Gotta ease the pain. Gotta ease the pain, man. Gotta ease the pain. Police sign of the mama crying. Her son the one that laid that man down. Jumped in that water and he got drowned. He can't take it back, he gotta do the time. For a lot of family members, he the one provide. So the effect gon' trickle down. But he ain't think about that at that time. That lifestyle come with a one-track mind. All we know is live a life of crime, cause that's what get popularized. Pop culture is geared toward our demise, and we just act deaf, dumb, and play blind. I know I can't change the world, at least I'm trying. My people in pain and it's agonized. We can still heal cause we still alive, but we gotta repent before we out of time. How can I ease the pain? How can I? Now how can I ease the pain? Gotta ease the pain, man. Gotta ease the pain. Gotta ease the pain, man. Gotta ease the pain. DJ Block.
think we give the title friend away too easy. Like, these people are associates, you know them, and y'all on good standings, but is that person your friend? Because if that person is your friend, they'll truly have your best interest at heart. They'll want to see you do well. They want everything that you want for yourself. They want it, because that's gonna make you shine from your core.
Make sure you proving the friend. Make sure you proving the friend. Before win them you trust. Before win them you trust. Don't be hasty to credit. Don't be hasty to credit. Cause folks be moving corrupt. Yeah, they be moving corrupt. Make sure you proving the friend. Make sure you proving the friend. Before win them you trust. Before win them you trust. Don't be hasty to credit. Don't be hasty to credit. Cause folks be moving corrupt. Yeah, they be moving corrupt. I'ma tell you a story about a brother named Khalil. He came from a broken home, poor than the other kids, holes in his shoes and clothes. He wasn't accepted by his peers. Imagine going through junior high without one real friend. Fast forward to high school, he started keeping up with trends. Got a job to prize summer and started stacking dividends. His transformation gained him a new reputation as a cool kid. Just what he always hoped to gain attention and friends. What he ain't know was all his new friends gained wasn't genuine. He had no clue what the betrayal he about to experience. He ain't solo no more. Khalil running with a clique. Marcus and Jarrell, he say that them his best friends. Make sure you proving the friend. Make sure you proving the friend. Before win them you trust. Before win them you trust. Don't be hasty to credit. Don't be hasty to credit. Cause folks be moving corrupt. Yeah, they be moving corrupt. Make sure you proving the friend. Make sure you proving the friend. Before win them you trust. Before win them you trust. Don't be hasty to credit. Don't be hasty to credit. Cause folks be moving corrupt. Yeah, they be moving corrupt. Now Marcus and Jarrell didn't work. They was jag boys. They used to taking what they want. They don't ask for it. Khalil went hip to who his best friend really was. But what he did know was both of them kept a gun. After school they all would meet up and smoke blunts. They taught him a lot he didn't know. They helped him earn his trust. But on this day they chose to hang out in another hood. Khalil was skeptical but they assured him it was all good. Linked up with some dudes they knew so they could shoot dice. Khalil hit it, came up, his pockets looking right. So him, Marcus and Jarrell headed home for the night. They tried to rob him, he didn't give it up, so they took his life. Make sure you proving the friend. Make sure you proving the friend. Before win them you trust. Before win them you trust. Don't be hasty to credit. Don't be hasty to credit. Cause folks be moving corrupt. Yeah, they be moving corrupt. Make sure you proving the friend. Make sure you proving the friend. Before win them you trust. Before win them you trust. Don't be hasty to credit. Don't be hasty to credit. Cause folks be moving corrupt. Yeah, they be moving corrupt.
Shalom, family. One of the most important things is for us to be holy. Now, what does that mean? That means we have to separate ourselves from the world and build unity and community. Grab yourself a shirt that expresses that message, and let's not just talk about it, let's live it.
Ain't no free will, it's all predestinated. From every death to every child brought forth through copulation. From the spouse that you choose to your current occupation, you either receive mercy or your hour's indignation. I can recollect on times that I could have been dead. Caught lacking, no strap, I had a knife instead. Played it cool, he wanted to kill me for how I used to move. Had to match his energy, portray that I was strapped too. But inside I'm praying to God, hoping he don't shoot. Still I'm whooping, telling him I know what he won't do. Hey, hey, come on, let's make a toast. Come on, let's make a toast. I give a toast on the feast day. Eat good, drink good, let it replay. We bring it back to the holy days. Babylon, where we celebrate the Lord's day. I give a toast on the feast day. Eat good, drink good, let it replay. Bring it back to the holy day. Babylon, where we celebrate the Lord's day. Have you been looking for a kosher Israelite wine brand? Well, look no further. Ty Roche is the wine brand for you. We have multiple flavor options and we ship to you. To place an order, contact us on Facebook at Ty Roche or also on Facebook at Hurt Lit. or on IG at Hurt 2.0. Shalom. Shalom, shalom, family, peace and blessings. I'm your brother Hurt, and tonight's lesson is Law and Order, the Balance of the People, Deuteronomy Chapter 8, and it's going to be brought forward by our beloved brother Aaron Jeshurun. Shalom, Mark.
Hey, peace, King, peace and blessings, family.
Khan, all praise to the Most High. So as we always do, we want to start out by giving all praise, honor, glory to the Most High, whose name is Yahweh, and we do so by Shem Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai, and that's in the name of His only begotten Son, who most around the world know as Jesus Christ. All praise, honor, glory to the Most High. Peace and blessings to those of you in the comments that has commented, Sister Wendy, Brother YP, Brother Paraz, and Brother Quintarius. Shalom, family. So all praise to the Most High. You can take it over.
All praises to the Most High. Once again, peace and blessings, family. Hope everybody is well on this Tuesday evening. Once again, it's your brother Aaron Jeshurun. And of course, I'm going to start off by giving all praises to the Most High God, Yahweh, who's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And as the brother Hurt mentioned, the lesson for tonight is another Law and Order installment. And for tonight, we're going to be going into the book of Deuteronomy, the 8th chapter. And if y'all remember, Deuteronomy chapter 7, it pretty much closed out with, it went into like the blessings of obedience and then also a warning to destroy the accursed things. And then, we went into the book of Joshua. Hopefully y'all remember. But when we go into Deuteronomy 8, it's pretty much going to pick up from that point, and it's going to speak about, or it's going to recall some of their time in the wilderness. And then it's going to go into some very important concepts that are very needful to have an understanding on. So that's what we're going to cover in the book of Deuteronomy 8. Brother Hurt, you got any points before we jump into it? All praises to the Most High. So I'm going to get my screen shared. Can you let me know if you could, so you can see my screen?
Yeah,
I think. Yeah, it might be still loading. I don't know if it's showing up as loading at least.
There we go.
All praises. Are you able to remove the comment? Because I don't see. I don't want to move. I ain't gonna speak it. I'm gonna just rock out.
All right.
Lord in Christ.
Yeah, we're gonna rebuke it. It ain't gonna
Yeah, but all praise to the Most High. We gonna kick it off with the book of Deuteronomy. You could just read verse number 1.
Khan. The entire commandment that I command you today, you must diligently observe, so that you may live and increase and go in and occupy the land that the Lord promised on oath to your ancestors.
Right. So right here within this particular text at the top of the chapter, we see the narrative. It begins with pretty much the same formula that we've seen all the way back, since chapter 4, where it pretty much says, keep the entire commandment so that you may live, increase, and go in and possess the land towards our ancestors. So structurally, this isn't anything new or like, really a deviation away from what's already been said within the book of Deuteronomy itself. But the particular nuance to highlight within this particular chapter is that it says the entire commandment, which is in reference to the entire legal code. It's not a specific part of the law or anything like that, but it's talking about the entire law itself. And just to show y'all this, I'm gonna go into the Hebrew a little bit, and then we're gonna look at the lexical data that substantiates the point I'm making. I'm gonna switch my screen over. Can you see the interlinear?
Yes, sir.
All praises. So if you look at the Hebrew, you read it, of course, from right to left. Right here, this is verse 1. It starts off by saying, call ha mitzvah or va, depending on how you want to, voice the vav or the wa. But right here, this particular word that's in question is commandment. And if you look at it, it's a noun and it's a feminine singular right below. So this is it's commandment. It's some translations will say commandments, but the sense right here is talking about the law or the total command that was given. And just to substantiate that, we're gonna go to the entry, which is G4687. And of course, it's mitzvah, noun, feminine, and then go down to see over here it says which was commanded, law, ordinance, precept. And then, if you could, my good brother, there's a particular point. Um, yeah, can you? I'm gonna just highlight. Yeah, we could just highlight. Can you just read this part right here? It's gonna be highlighted in pink.
Con.
Hopefully, you can see it.
Nah, I don't show anything highlighted. What does it start with?
Oh, you know what? Just read all the way down to where it says Deuteronomy 8:1, because I think it's a little bit behind.
Yeah, it just lagged out. Okay, there it is. It just popped up.
Wow, that's crazy.
A singular, the commandment, code of law. Second Chronicles 8 and verse 13, Ezra 10 and 3, Psalm 19 and 9, and Deuteronomy 8 and 1.
Right. So right here, what we could see within the lexical data, it said commandment. It says singular, the commandment, code of law. That's very important. And then also it gives some other references. And also when you continue to read down, it makes mention of different places within Deuteronomy. And if you look at these particular passages, there are actually other instances where the translators render it in that way. It'll say the commandment, and it'll be talking about um, a list or like an entire branch of commandments and instructions. So this is just an example of where the text it can speak about the commandment as the entire legal code, and you kind of see that with the Apostle Paul in the New Testament when he says the law is holy and the commandment just. He's not just talking about just one commandment, but he's speaking about the entire legal code. So like that's where you start to see that idea and that way of depicting um the I guess the language or the verbiage for the law itself or the body of commandments. But you got any points, King, before we move on? All praises. So we gonna head back over to Deuteronomy chapter 8. And you can read for me verses 2 through 3. Hopefully, I don't know if you can see it.
Con, yeah, it's on the screen.
All praises.
Remember the long way that the Lord your God has led you these 40 years in the wilderness in order to humble you, testing you to know what was in your heart, whether or not you would keep his commandments. He humbled you by letting you hunger, then by feeding you with manna, with which neither you nor your ancestors were acquainted, in order to make you understand that one does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord.
Right. So right there, as you begin in verse number 2, Moses, he tells them to remember the long way that the Most High led them during those 40 years within the wilderness. And he gives the reason in simplicity. He says it was to humble them and test them to know basically what was in their heart, whether they would keep his commandments or not. And when you go into the Hebrew, and I'm gonna pull it up, when you go into that word for I think it's humble you, it actually it actually deals with I believe producing something within you to bring forth a result. And just real quick, I'm gonna bring it out because I when I went into this, I thought it was powerful. So looking at this particular word for humble, it's anothka right here. Anothka. It's gonna be, of course, a verb, the root word ana. And when you look at this, look at some of these, it says chasten self, deal hardly. Um, says to depress, literally or figuratively. Then also goes into some of these points, a base self. And then it could have a negative connotation, of course, with the file. But everything is very important based upon context. But putting it in simplicity, and of course, based upon the verbiage and also the grammar, it's in the PL stem, which is typically intensive or a resultative active verb, if you will. So this is dealing with something that's intentional, and again, for the cause of describing or bringing forth the explanation of a result. So basically, the Most High, he wasn't just letting hardship happen to the Israelites. He was deliberately disciplining them or chastening them during those 40 years for the reason or for the cause that he would know whether or not they would keep the commandments or they wouldn't. When you look at verse number 3, oh Lord in Christ, I didn't even have it on the screen, Salakia. But when you look at verse number 3, the narrative, it explains the mechanism by which they were tested and afflicted. The Most High, he let them hunger, then he fed them with manna, which neither they nor their fathers had known. And the purpose was so that they learned that man doesn't live by bread or ordinary food alone when you go into the Hebrew. And when you go into a little bit deeper into that phrase that deals with bread, it's going to be lechem. It actually refers to that which sustains life. So this, basically a person or a man doesn't merely sustain their life by food, but they sustain their life by, everything that comes out of the mouth of the Most High God. That's the point of the wisdom in Deuteronomy 8. And when you continue to read in context and also focus on the motif of Deuteronomy as well as the rest of the books in the Torah, you'll be able to locate this idea. And this very directly connects back to the account that you see in the book of Exodus, the 16th chapter, where you see the children of Israel, they're pretty much complaining. And the topic of their complaint was hunger and lack of food. And real quick, I'm we can go into that account just to display that. And if you got any points during this, you can highlight them as well.
Nah, not right now. I was just trying to get this stream back on Facebook. They removed it
Wow.
for some reason, and I had to delete it and go live again. But then I just got a notification saying they don't allow people to buy, sell, or exchange certain tobacco or alcohol products. So they hating on my ad for my wine. But okay, whatever.
That's crazy work.
All right. But I got it back live. So just in case somebody was watching on Facebook, that's why it got removed. And hopefully he was able to get back on the screen. But yeah, you got it.
All praises. Yeah, but yeah, we're gonna grab that account. We're gonna go to Exodus 16. Is this able to be seen? Is this I need to blow it up?
It should be. I mean, it's good for me. You could probably blow it up a little bit just to make sure everybody else can see it.
Gotcha.
That should do it.
All praises. So if you can, my good brother, just read verses 1 through 4.
The whole congregation of the Israelites set out from Elim, and Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai. On the 15th day of the second month, after they had departed from the land of Egypt, the whole congregation of the Israelites complained against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. The Israelites said to them, "If only we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots and ate our fill of bread. For you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger." Then the Lord said to Moses, "I am going to rain bread from heaven for you, and each day the people shall go out and gather enough for that day. In that way, I will test them, whether they will follow my instruction or not."
Right. So again, that's echoing literally same sentiment found in Deuteronomy, the 8th chapter. And as I mentioned, within these first few verses, you're able to see that Israel, they're complaining, and the Most High says that he's going to rain bread or food on them from heaven. And again, when you look at the language, do the study on what bread is in reference to, this is dealing with food or that which sustains life. And again, right here, as you read, the Most High said he would provide them food. But as you continue on, you'll see that prescriptions and instructions are provided as well. And when you continue to read the chapter, and we're going to go into it just a little bit, but again, this is going to be extensively brought out during a future Law and Order class, Lord willing. But as you continue to read throughout this chapter, it goes into how much food they ought to gather, the observance of the Shabbat, and other points that are expressed. But real quick, we're gonna jump down to verse number 25 in the same chapter, and I'm gonna have you read verses 25 all the way down to 30.
Moses said, "Eat it today, for today is a Sabbath to the Lord. Today you will not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the seventh day, which is the Sabbath, there will be none. On the seventh day, some of the people went out to gather, and they found none. The Lord said to Moses, 'How long will you refuse to keep my commandments and instructions?'" You said through 30?
Yeah, all the way down to 30.
"See, the Lord has given you the Sabbath. Therefore, on the sixth day, he gives you food for 2 days. Each of you stay where you are. Do not leave your place on the seventh day." So the people rested on the seventh day.
Right. So the point here is that the Most High, he gave them instructions on when to gather food. He provided them with. And when they deviated from said instructions, they went without. So the motif shown is that the commandment from the Most High is designed to sustain life. And it's not merely about the benefits, that comes with obedience themselves, but again, in many cases, the instruction from God, they're the cause, or typically the cause of life, or life being sustained. You're obedient and your life is sustained. Your life is better or in a better state versus it being in a worse off state. And that's literally the dichotomy of the blessings versus the curses. You obey, things go better for you. Your life is sustained. Your riches are higher. Your safety, more times than not, it is going to be emphasized or enhanced. But the curses, it literally goes on the opposite. Now, of course, I'm not, jumping into like nuances and, oh well, what if I'm like Paul and I'm doing the will of the Lord, and I'm not talking about that. That's not the point. This is a very direct point. So again, obedience to the Most High produces, what can sustain life, but disobedience to the Most High produces what can end life. That's the motif, and that's the point of Deuteronomy chapter 8 and verse 3, especially when it says, man will not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of the Most High. The words or the instruction from the Most High is what sustains life. But you got any points before I move on, King?
Just to point on just the manner as far as how the Most High was able to give them manna to make sure they were fed. And according to like their thoughts and their mindset at that point in time, they didn't have anything to sustain them. But this is like evidence of how the Most High, how he deals with us. Also, when it can look like you're in a situation where it don't look like you got no way out of it, or it don't look like you have what you need to sustain you, the Most High can make it rain manna from heaven. He can sustain you with how he sees fit, because he controls any and everything that we receive in this life. So I think this is, just looking at the spiritual significance of the manna from heaven, it helps to strengthen your faith and also comfort you in knowing that the Most High is with you when you do keep his commandments.
All praises. Great point. So jumping back to Deuteronomy chapter 8, if you can, my good brother, just read verse number 4.
Khan, the clothes on your back did not wear out, and your feet did not swell these 40 years.
All right, so as you continue on within the narrative, it notes that their clothes didn't wear out and their feet didn't swell those 40 years. And if you guys remember all the way back to chapter 2, I know it's been a while, but within chapter 2's lesson, this same particular point was made, during the retelling of what happened within the wilderness. And just real quick, just to help jog our memories, I'm gonna pull up the passage. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 2, and we could read verse number 7.
Khan. This is Deuteronomy 2 and 7. Surely the Lord your God has blessed you in all your undertakings. He knows you're going through this great wilderness. These 40 years the Lord your God has been with you. You have lacked nothing.
Right. So the Most High maintained us, food wise, and then also as we, were able to read in chapter 8, and other aspects as well. But he maintained us that whole time during the wilderness period, which was 40 years. And you constantly see this witness recalled, not only just within the book of Deuteronomy, but you see it throughout the rest of the Tanakh as well. And just to grab a witness to show that, many, many years later, Nehemiah chapter 9, verse number 20, because they make this point exactly. Verse number 20. Just read 20 through 21.
You gave your good spirit to instruct them, and did not withhold your manna from their mouths, and gave them water for their thirst. 40 years you sustained them in the wilderness, so that they lacked nothing. Their clothes did not wear out, and their feet did not swell.
Right. So that's just another witness, another attesting to to this particular fact. Even at this point, post-exilically speaking, they're rehearsing the same testimony, that the Most High gave his good spirit to instruct them. Again, that's pointing to the point about how the law of God is, the main factor in us being sustained. And then it also makes mention that he didn't withhold his manna from them and sustained them 40 years, and they lacked nothing in regard to clothes and their shoes wearing out. So this particular testimony, about the Most High's faithfulness towards his people within the wilderness, it continues to be uttered even during the time of Ezra and Nehemiah, and even up until now. A lot of people, they still even observe the of course the Passover, but even in conjunction with the Passover observance, what's also made mention of is the Most High's faithfulness to the children of Israel, while saving them from Egypt and through the wilderness and entering into the promised land. A lot of these things are touched on. And then, of course, the types and the shadows are typically highlighted for, uh, the Savior, the Mashiach returning and the glory of the Most High bringing forth that redemption, a similar redemption to what happened in Egypt. But all of these testimonies, they walk hand in hand with the idea of the Most High's faithfulness. And that begins with the salvation from Egypt, and then also the keeping of them within the wilderness to enter into the land. That's, typically understood as a type and shadow. But you got any points, King, before I move on? All praises to the Most High. So we're gonna continue on. Oh, and of course, if y'all got any questions or anything that's hard to be understood, from y'all's perspective, of course, place a 2 in the chat and just put, "Hey, brother Aaron, what you meant by that? I need some clarity." Make sure y'all are not shy about putting that out there. I will definitely stop and go into each point. I welcome that. But let's jump back to Deuteronomy chapter 8, and you can read verses 5 through 6.
Con. Know then in your heart that as a parent disciplines a child, so the Lord your God, the Lord your God disciplines you. Therefore, keep the commandments of the Lord your God by walking in his ways and by fearing him.
Right. So within the narrative as it continues, it communicates an analogy very directly. And it said, to know in your heart that as a man disciplines his son, the Most High disciplines you. And when you go into the Hebrew language right there for the word discipline, it actually carries the sense of an instructive correction. It's not directly dealing with cruelty or anything like that. Even though it can, depending on the context, but right here everything is spelled out and specified, just based upon the context. So within this context, this would be in reference to a fatherly admonishment versus just being cruel just to be cruel. That's not what's going on within the text. But just to again show a corroborating witness for this particular idea, I'm going to go to the book of Proverbs, which is wisdom literature. Excellent wisdom from the writer of Proverbs. We believe it to be Solomon. I'm going to go to chapter 3, verse number 11 through 12.
My child, do not despise the Lord's discipline or be weary of his reproof, for the Lord reproves the one he loves, as a father the son in whom he delights.
Right. So we see here, it's pretty much the same verbiage, same Hebrew as well. I believe it's the word yasar, as you go into it for Proverbs 3 and also Deuteronomy 8. But right here, it communicates that the Most High disciplines those he loves, like a father in whom he delights. So this idea, that's communicated right there, which is found in the law, is not only found there, but it's also found within wisdom literature. And then later on, as I think we haven't gotten there yet, but it's in the book of Hebrews. We're going to come across it soon. I think Hebrews, it literally quotes this, as a father chastens his son. I think it's in chapter 12, maybe. But again, point is and matter of fact, Moses, he makes the point. Verse number 6. He literally says, keep the commandments, walk in his ways, and fear him. Right. So the point of the correction is to be obedient to our God who's likened to our Father. You see that right here. You also see that within the rest of the Tanakh as well. One place is Isaiah, I believe it's 64, where the writer literally says, the Lord our God is our Father, roughly paraphrasing, literally calls him our Father. So again, the text, it lays that out. It lays out that we have that, particular relational status as his children, and him being, a father figure to us. But you got any points, King, before we move on?
Let's go to Proverbs 22 and verse 6.
Yes, sir. It's the book of Proverbs 22, verse number 6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it.
So the Most High, essentially what he's trying to do, he's trying to train us with the law, statutes, and commandments, training us in the way that we should go, right? And he tells us, hey, the benefit of you doing these things, you're going to have this, you're going to have that. And as a babe, when we first find this knowledge and this wisdom, we learn what we're supposed to do, but we're still children. We become mature, we become old when we exercise keeping these commandments, and we start to reap the benefits of actually keeping them. And it will encourage us to not depart from that way. So just like I brought out the verse in Proverbs chapter 3, showing that the discipline of the Heavenly Father, just like a father disciplines his child, is about love. It's about instructing and guiding in the way that that person or that child should go. Read verse 3 also.
Yes, sir. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse number 3. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished.
Right. And the Most High gives us the benefit of laying it all out for us, saying, hey, if you do this, this is going to happen to you. And we don't want the bad to happen to us. So if we understand we're not supposed to do certain things, then we're going to be prudent, and we're going to see the evil before it comes to pass on us, and we're going to hide ourselves from it. We're going to do what the Most High tells us to do to protect us from those things that would be evil. But Ak, you can continue going.
Excellent point. Yeah, excellent point. And just if I could say this, you definitely give yourself the best protection by abiding by the word of the Most High. There are a lot of things that actually safeguard you from, different situations, when you actually keep the commandments. So that's an excellent point. Beautifully brought out. And let me pull this back up. Make sure, if you guys haven't already, to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. I meant to say that at the beginning, but I forgot. But all praises to the Most High. At this point, it came back to my memory to say that. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe, share if you haven't already. And we appreciate all of the support in advance. But we're gonna jump back into Deuteronomy chapter 8. And you can read verses number 7 through 9.
For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land with flowing streams, with springs and underground waters welling up in valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and honey, a land where you may eat bread without scarcity, where you will lack nothing, a land whose stones are iron, and from whose hills you may mine copper.
Right. So right here, we see Moses describing the land that they're entering. He describes it as brooks of water, fountains and springs flowing in valleys and hills. He mentions that, it would have wheat, barley, vines, fig trees, pomegranates, olive trees, honey, bread without scarcity, which goes into food as well. And a plethora of increase in things to help sustain life. It said it would be nothing lacking. So this portion displays the abundance that the children of Israel were about to inherit within the land. Food and all other things that can satisfy them, as a nation. But of course, the main thing that you see within the book of Deuteronomy, because it's, pretty much based upon land entry code and etiquette and behavior. This is what they would get, but what's gonna make sure that they keep these things is their continued obedience. Constantly see that within the book of Deuteronomy. We see it in the last chapter, Deuteronomy 7. You see it in Deuteronomy 11, which we're going to go into. You see it in Deuteronomy 28. Of course, that's probably the most famous place. And we're going to see it in Leviticus 26. It's a myriad of places that this idea is purported, but you see all of these good things are spoken of and, for lack of better terms, promised to our ancestors at this time. But the question is, what did they have to do to maintain it? The very simple answer is keep the commandments and maintain their obedience to their God. You got any points, King?
All praise, a beautiful lesson so far.
All praises. You could just read verse number 10.
Kind. You shall eat your fill and bless the Lord your God for the good land that he has given you.
Right. And real quick, I know this seems like a very just a verse that one would just read and just say, yeah, eat your fill and bless the Lord. That's it. And then go on about your day. But this is actually doing this verse, this is actually conveying a pretty good amount. And historically, later on, it's a lot behind this particular verse. And the reason why I say that is because, first off, it communicates, what would happen upon the entry of the land. We would eat, we would be full, and we would bless the Most High for the good land that He gave us. But this particular verse, talking about Deuteronomy 8 and 10, it becomes the root text for what's later developed as a particular blessing, which, later on is recited by Jews all over after each meal. I believe it's called the Birkath Hamazon. And y'all could I'll try to place it in the chat a little bit later. But this particular blessing, quote unquote, it becomes very popular during the second temple period, which would this would be post exile, which is about like 590 BCE. And that would include like the time of Ezra, Nehemiah, all the way onward to the time of Christ and Paul, things like that. And again, what's purported is that you would have Jews thanking the Most High for their, sustenance, the land, and all the myriad of things that came with it. And they would do it based upon this particular passage, right? And the same idea you kind of see done with these different Deuteronomic passages, whether it be the blessings that they put on the gate, as you see in like Deuteronomy 6 with the mezuzah, and then you see a similar thing here, as a blessing being used from the book of Deuteronomy to be continuously said and repeated and recited. This is these little points I find very interesting, and I think that they are good to know historically and to understand. Okay, you start to hear these particular points because that, like, don't marvel. You may get into that conversation one day with a person that's all about rabbinic tradition, and they're gonna bring up the Birkat Hamazon, and they're gonna say, yeah, we bless Hashem for our field, and we bless him for the land. And then it's gonna be that person that's gonna say, "Oh, y'all made that up." But technically, historically, they would have gotten it from this particular passage. But just a just a fact about what's going on here in the book of Deuteronomy 8 and 10. This is literally what the Most High is saying they would do when they would come in the land. Um, well, uh, once they establish themselves, they would be able to eat until they're satisfied, and then bless the Most High for everything that He's given them. But before I move on, King, you got any points out?
La,
All praises. All praises. So we gonna move on to verse number 11. Yeah, just verse 11 by itself.
time. Take care that you do not forget the Lord your God by failing to keep his commandments, his ordinance, and his statutes that I am commanding you today.
All praises to the Most High. Yeah, and just to continue on, we see right here what Moses does in verse number 11 is he gives a working definition. He gives a working definition for what it means to forget the Most High. So if you want to go somewhere where it says, you want to go somewhere where it says, forget the Most High. This is the particular verse to go to. He literally says, you forget the Most High by not keeping his commandments, ordinances, and statutes. And when you go into the Hebrew there for the word there for forget, it pretty much refers to, neglect or like a willful neglect. So this isn't the idea of just like I'll give an example, like an everyday example that most people can probably relate to. So it'll be like, someone might have forgot to put their fringes on or something like that. That's not what this is talking about. That's not talking about, oh, you forgot your to put your fringes on. Make sure you don't do that. Of course, you should maintain, the wearing of fringes. But the point right here is not about human error, but it's about neglecting God's laws and walking unfaithfully towards God.
Right.
So like you constantly see the idea of, and they didn't remember the Most High God or the Lord their God, and they walked in the ways of this other deity. That wasn't that, oh, they just had a human error and forgot. They began to neglect God's laws and they went into the way of apostasy. That's what's being conveyed right here in Deuteronomy 8 and 11. Is literally teaching you to not do that. You got any points, King, before we move on?
Just to point on, like when verse 12 it says, when you have eaten your fill and have built fine houses and live in them, and when you're in verse 13, when your herds and flocks have multiplied and your silver and gold is multiplied and all that you have is multiplied. Because this is the mindset of a lot of people. They'll get something, they'll get to a certain place in life and they feel like, hey man, I got what I need, I'm successful, and they forget all about the Most High and keeping his commandments because they were able to get their fill, like the scripture says, like this verse says. And it's just a reminder to continue to stay humble, because regardless of what the Most High has blessed you with, you still got to continue to serve him in spirit and truth. You got to still remain humble. You got to still continually examine yourself so that you don't end up going off and forget to keep his commandments. But yeah, beautiful lesson so far. Shalom, brother Gabar, sister Andrea, and sister Kanaya.
Yeah, absolutely. All praises to the Most High. That's exactly it, because it runs concurrently, like literally with verse 10 all the way into verse 11. It runs concurrently, and that's not for coincidence either, because it's very easy once you're satisfied and you're comfortable, to now neglect the thing or the standard that you were supposed to uphold. Like it gets very easy to do such things when everything is comfortable. And then, the groveling and the begging and the weeping and the lamentation that comes when you're like, now you're in trouble. And so like now you're like, hey, what do I got to do to what do I got to do to improve my situation? But it shouldn't, you shouldn't have waited until it got there. You should have already been doing the right thing beforehand so that you could maintain, your what was sustaining you initially to begin with. But yeah, excellent point, King. Oh, we gonna continue on. You can read verses 12 through 14.
Con. When you have eaten your fill and have built fine houses and live in them, and when your herds and flocks have multiplied, and your silver and gold is multiplied, and all that you have is multiplied, then do not exalt yourself, forgetting the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery.
I'll praise it. So right here within this pericope from 12 to 14, we see that Moses lays out what will happen. He says they would eat their fill, meaning, eat till they're satisfied. Then they build good houses and live in them, and their herds and flocks will multiply, as well as their silver and gold, dealing with the money. And of course, everything they have, it would multiply after they entered into the land. And then he tells them, do not allow your heart to get lifted up and forget the Most High, meaning to neglect his instruction. And then he reiterates the testimony of the Most High about how he brought them out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So the point here isn't, that, just simply being afraid of being impoverished or anything like that. Of course, that's a reasonable thing to not want, but they're actually being, directly being warned about their mind frame while they have abundance. The scarcity, um, it 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 was to keep them dependent. As you read in the earlier part of the chapter, the scarcity of food really was to keep them dependent and looking towards the Most High for their help. And so so that they would, of course, be obedient because the Most High was testing him. But again, as you continuously see within the Tanakh or the Old Testament, you see that every time we're in captivity, all the way from Egypt to the time of Judges, etc., you know, we hit a point where we're lacking or we're struggling. And then, as I mentioned, we come crying to the Most High. Literally, it was like every 3 chapters, we would have a judge, and then we would fall into idolatry, and then we would get enslaved, and then we would cry out to the Most High. But the point is that when you're up, your mind is supposed to be single and devoted toward the Most High. Like that's the point that Moses is elaborating on within this chapter. But again, as you look at our history, we didn't take heed to this. But again, that's in and of itself, that's a gem to take hold of. Like when you're doing well, worship the Most High in spirit and in truth. Like be sincere in your walk. Don't be puffed up. Don't be high minded, if you will. Don't think that it was you that is responsible for your success and your glory and everything like that. But it's all from the Most High, and it all could be taken away in an instant, and all you'll be is a person that has nothing and needs the Most High. Because you're gonna be one of two things. You're gonna be a person that has something and still needs the Most High, or you're gonna be a person that has nothing and needs the Most High. So you'd rather, I'm sure, be one that has something and needs the Most High, and has the mindset and understand that you need the Most High. But before I move on, you got any points, King?
Let's go to Psalm 36.
Yes, sir.
And let's get verse 8 and 9.
It's the book of Psalm, chapter 36, verse number 8. They shall be abundantly satisfied with the fatness of thy house, and thou shalt make them drink of the river of thy pleasures. For with thee is the fountain of life. In thy light shall we see light.
Right. So with the Most High is the fountain of life. And in his light, we see light. So when we leave out of that light, we can't do nothing but expect darkness. If he's the source, that's what it's telling us. He's the source of everything that we get blessed with. When we're abundantly satisfied with the fatness of our house, it comes from the Most High. So in order to keep that going, we have to stay in his grace. We have to stay under his covering. And by doing that, the only way we can do that is by being obedient to his laws, statutes, and commandments. But that's it. I just wanted to add that little correlating scripture.
Yeah, excellent point. That's right on par. We continue on. You can read verses 14 through 15 in Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy 8:14 and verse 15. Then do not exalt yourself, forgetting the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery, who led you through the great and terrible wilderness, an arid wasteland land with poisonous snakes and scorpions. He made water flow for you from flint rock.
Right. So right here within that particular text, we see that Moses, he's rehearsing basically the occurrences within the wilderness. He mentions the fiery serpents, the scorpions, a thirsty ground with no water, and how the Most High, he brought water out of the flinty rock. And just to run through a few of these real quick, I'm not trying to really like spend a ton of time on these because they're within the Torah. But I do want to bring them up just in case the people listening are not familiar. First one we're gonna go to is Numbers 21. And again, this is, basically being spoken of, because these are just examples of how the Most High has been faithful to our people, within the wilderness. So that same idea is being purported. First passage we're gonna go to is Numbers 21. We're gonna pull up verse number, you can read 4 through 9.
From Mount Hor, they set out by the way to the Red Sea to go around the land of Edom. But the people became impatient on the way. The people spoke against God and against Moses. Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no food and no water, and we detest this miserable food. Then the Lord sent poisonous serpents among the people, and they bit the people, so that many Israelites died. The people came to Moses and said, we have sinned by speaking against the Lord and against you. Pray to the Lord to take away the serpents from us. So Moses prayed for the people. And the Lord said to Moses, make a poisonous serpent and set it on a pole, and everyone who is bitten shall look at it and live. So Moses made a serpent of bronze and put it upon a pole. And whenever a serpent bit someone, that person would look at the serpent of bronze and live.
Right. So right here, as we've seen in those 5 particular verses, we see the account of the fiery serpents, where the people, they spoke against the Most High and Moses, and they complained about food and the lack of water. And that's a constant theme that we keep seeing within the Torah. But because of this, the Most High sent serpents for that particular judgment in that situation. And then once they appeared to be contrite, or broken, they asked Moses to pray on their behalf, and Moses, he prays on their behalf. And the Most High allows Moses to provide the bronze serpent for their healing. And anyone that looked at it, they would be healed or they would live. Again, they would be sustained. But first, they had to turn away from doing evil or doing against God, and they had to obey the instruction that was given, which was to behold the serpent. So that's again going back to that same theme of obedience would equal uh sustaining of life, but disobedience would equal the provision of death, if you will. And if you got any points, you could jump in. All praises. Next point we're gonna go to is Exodus 17. Quick point here. You could just read verses just 1 through 7.
From the wilderness of Sin, the whole congregation of the Israelites journeyed by stages as the Lord commanded. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. The people quarreled with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." Moses said to them, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test the Lord?" But the people thirsted there for water, and the people complained against Moses and said, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt to kill us and our children and livestock with thirst?" So Moses cried out to the Lord, "What shall I do with this people? They are almost ready to stone me." The Lord said to Moses, "Go on ahead of the people and take some of the elders of Israel with you. Take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile and go. I will be standing there in front of you on the rock at Horeb. Strike the rock, and water will come out of it, so that the people may drink." Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. He called the place Massah and Meribah, because the Israelites quarreled and tested the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?"
Man, that's crazy work. Right here, this is the first instance where Moses, he strikes the rock and water comes out. But observing the context, you see our people right here, another instance where they're complaining towards the Most High and Moses because they perceive lack and assume that they were brought out to, for them to be unalived, because, they were so thirsty. And they get to a point where Moses feels they're going to stone him. So the Most High provides for them. And again, this is not the only time we see this. This is like a reoccurring thing. I'm not just to save some time, not gonna go through the whole account, but I'm gonna just prove that, then we're gonna jump back to Deuteronomy chapter 8 and begin to wrap up. But Numbers chapter 20, verse 7 through 13, if you can, brother.
Said which verse you want to start at through 13?
7 through 13.
The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Take the staff and assemble the congregation, you and your brother Aaron, and command the rock before their eyes to yield its water. Thus you shall bring water out of the rock for them. Thus you shall provide drink for the congregation and their livestock." So Moses took the staff from before the Lord, as he had commanded him. Moses and Aaron gathered the assembly together before the rock, and he said to them, "Listen, you rebels, shall we bring water for you out of this rock?" Then Moses lifted up his hand and struck the rock twice with his staff. Water came out abundantly, and the congregation and their livestock drank. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Because you did not trust in me to show my holiness before the eyes of the Israelites, therefore you shall not bring this assembly into the land that I have given them. These are the waters of Meribah, where the people of Israel quarreled with the Lord, and by which he showed his holiness."
So this is the second instance at Meribah. And right here you see the Most High, he commands Moses to command the rock this particular time, and he's not supposed to strike it. And Moses instead strikes the rock in frustration instead of speaking to it as he was commanded, which again it ties right back to what we read within, I think it was either Deuteronomy 3 or Deuteronomy 4, about why Moses wasn't allowed to enter into the land. In the account it says, they wouldn't, talking about Moses and Aaron, they wouldn't lead the people into the land. Like it says it very clean in the text, because they didn't show the holiness of the Lord. So again, just showing, these are the particular accounts that Moses is rehearsing within the book of Deuteronomy chapter 8, where it speaks about the water from the rock, and also they're complaining in the account in Exodus 17, as well as with the serpents in Exodus in Numbers 21. But again, this is just actually another attesting to the testimony of the Most High's provision, but also a reminder of disqualification, or the lack of sustaining if you don't go in line with what the Most High commanded. As we've seen with Moses, he was disqualified from entering into the land because he went against what the Most High told him. So we constantly see that theme continuing. But you got any points before we move on, King? All praises. All right, so we can jump back to Deuteronomy chapter 8. I think it's about 4 verses left. You can read verse number 16.
Scroll up a little bit.
Pardon. Oh my goodness, bro. It's locking.
He fed you in the wilderness with manna that your ancestors did not know, to humble you and to test you, and in the end to do you good.
Right. So Moses, he closes that particular section by saying that the Most High fed them manna in the wilderness, which their fathers didn't know, to humble them and test them, to for them to do good in the end. And this pretty much closes the loop that you first see in verse number 2 in the same chapter, because it opens up with this same point, and it mentions that all of this was for humbling and testing. But in verse 16, it closes with, the point about humbling, testing, and the purpose stated at both ends is, pretty much the same, that it was for their good, so they'd be inclined to do the commandments. That's really all of those tests and tribulation, etc. That's what all of that was for. Oh, we can move on. You can read verse 17 through 18.
Do not say to yourself, my power and the might of my own hand have gotten me this wealth. But remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth, so that he may confirm his covenant that he swore to your ancestors, as he is doing today.
Right. So as Moses spoke to earlier, he speaks to the specific danger. Now, again, this is dealing with the mindset that, one might say in their heart that my power and my might of my hand has gotten me this wealth. And he reminds them that it wasn't their might, but it was the Most High who gives power. And again, this is for the reason that his covenant could be confirmed. Right. So in simplicity, it was no power of our own that helped us attain the abundance that we did, but it was the power of the Most High. And again, it's commanded to them to not utter this to themselves, to not think this within themselves. And we constantly see that particular wisdom of like foolish thoughts being sin. As you see, I think it's in the book of Proverbs 24, where it says the thought of foolishness is sin. But we constantly see these points being applicable to one thinking something and then one, outwardly breaking God's laws. Because I think throughout many wisdoms, even when you look at the wisdom literature in the Old Testament to I think even James, it speaks about how that a lot of things begin with the mind and within the heart, and then it goes outwardly, and then it draws you away from your one mindedness. That pride in that sense, that's gonna be I'm gonna say a 100% surefire way to go away from what the Most High wants you to do. You got any points, King, before we move on?
I'll reference how in the New Testament in Matthew chapter 5, it kind of refers to how the Most High makes it the rain, or he gives the rain on just and the unjust, right? Just paraphrasing, because this Torah portion we don't even usually go to the New Testament at all. But just like looking at it from that perspective, and how there are wicked people today who may be rich or just have plenteous goods on this planet, right? In Babylon. And even though they're wicked, the Most High is the one that's allowing them to obtain that wealth. And a lot of the times people look at themselves as, I did this, I did that. Look at my accomplishments. I did this on my own. I didn't need no help. Y'all hear that. We hear that paraphrase and that phrase by plenty of people on this earth that don't know the Most High truly. They may know of the Most High, but don't know him truly. And like Sister Wendy said, she said she's had people try to tell me that I did things when I would praise the Lord for things. Say that I did things when I would praise the Lord for things. And this is something that has originated in like spirituality, where spirituality, African spirituality, where people will say, we are our own God, and you're manifesting this. I manifested that. Not that the Most High is blessing you with something. So it's definitely important to realize and understand and remind yourself on a daily, whenever you do any great thing or you accomplish something or you get something great going for yourself, the Most High is the one doing it, not you. He may put the idea and the thought in your head, but he's the one that's going to make it multiply and make it fruitful. But all praise, honor, glory to the Most High. Beautiful lesson out so far.
All praise to the Most High. Yeah, and that also that kind of made me think of those different situations where people will quote unquote like bring somebody into the truth, and they'll get like acclaim and certain glory, and people will look at them in a particular way. But you even see within the conversation of the New Testament, not to really go into it, but they even touch on this and say, well, look, I didn't, Paul, he says, I didn't die for your sins. Did was Peter, or was he crucified for your sake? Was Apollos crucified for your sake? Because people were saying, I'm of Paul, I'm of Apollos, I'm of Peter, etc. But Paul was, just saying, look, like we're just planners, but the Most High is the one giving the increase. So like even within that front, it's not, again, like we're not supposed to have the idea that we're so great and we just, oh man, I really did that. I'm like, people, they'll even say I'm self-made and I did it on my own and all of these things. And even within their mind, they might even think, of course I thank God, but it's like I think you just said it a moment ago, like I can't remember exactly how you communicated it, but basically, a lot of people, they have like some type of concept of like knowing God per se, but they're not really in alignment with like the morality that the Most High purports. So like it's really just like another name drop. Like it's like really an empty name drop that they have within their speech. Like, they might just say, sometimes they'll say, oh, I want to thank God on like some of the big stages. They might not. But a lot of times they'll scream, I'm self-made. I did it on my own. I had no handout. Ain't nobody help me. I did this, and like they,
I'm here.
but like we're not supposed to eat, and even based upon the Torah, just getting back to it, we're not supposed to have this particular mindset. We're not supposed to like utter these thoughts and have these and have that notion. But we're always supposed to keep in mind that the Most High, without the Most High, none of this is possible for us. Like, we can't be sustained because, again, whether you have something or whether you don't, you're just another person that needs and relies on the Most High.
And it's just before you move on, because I know you got 2 more verses left. Just like when we say all praise to the Most High, like if people notice, like if they don't understand, like, dang, they always talking about all praise to the Most High for everything.
Right.
I mean, I know I do. It don't matter what it is. I'm always all praise to the Most High because He get all the praise. But what we see with people that, like Brother Aaron's comment said, I'm self-made. I did it on my own. This is seeking adulation. This is seeking praise. You want to be praised for what you say that you've done. You did it on your own. This is why, like, when we look at something like award shows that I'm so against. Even, Israelites, they do award shows, and I think it's incorrect and it's wrong because you're seeking praise, regardless of how you try to dress it up. Well, I just want to make sure, we can recognize the artists. They've been working hard. For what? Your treasure's supposed to be in heaven. So when it comes to looking and seeking praise for somebody to say, good job, Brother Aaron, that's when it's the issue, man. Because Brother Aaron ain't do nothing on his own. Brother Hurt ain't do nothing on his own. Don't praise me. Praise the Most High. All praise to the Most High. That's when somebody, hey, man, boy, hey, man, you did a good job on the stage performing, man. All praise to the Most High. And I mean it. You know what I'm saying? I really mean it. But all praise to the Most High again. Go ahead,
Yeah. And you said this in time past also. It's not like not just like a catchphrase or like even like a fake humility thing. It's like literally just like out of, even just on a base level, out of fear, I've seen people be very proud, and I've seen them abased. Like great men abased because of pride. Right. That ain't nothing to play with, So it's like, hey man, well, if you could do that to homie over there, and I thought homie was like that, then shoot, what could you do to me? And so that's why, like, and I think even like throughout the Bible, they show you these these particular examples to show you that none of these men are anything. Like nobody's really anything. It's really the Most High giving them a turn. And it's not really to be negative, but it's just the reality. It's not like, oh well, these men are just, or the Most High needed these men, or the Most High needed this particular person. It's just that's who the Most High elected to use.
Right.
And it was His timing. It was His His allotment within history to do this particular job.
Right.
And then, for whatever reason, Most High does what He does to him and He moves on. Like there's even a passage, and I'm gonna move on to the last 2 verses. There's a passage, I think, in Sirach where it says that there be one that teaches many, but he's unprofitable to himself. And that's a heavy wisdom, because you can see somebody just so powerful, able to disseminate information in such an efficient way. They sound extremely intelligent. They know all of the scriptures. They can, they know actual precepts.
Can't apply.
Yeah, and apply them. They don't. They not. And anyways, they're like they know how to use, they know how to divide the word properly.
Mhm.
And then you see something happen to them, or you see, the Most High will allow it to go like this.
Mhm.
Well, I don't deal with the Bible no more, or all of that stuff was fake. What I said,
Great.
like, like, and that's, again, that's just a showing that it's not them. That's all of that was the Most High allowing them to have the wisdom, the intellect,
Mhm.
the spirit and the might to do a particular task, for the body. But it, again, once the Most High, whether they did something, or whether they might have got puffed up, whatever the case is, once the Most High has decided, that's it. And it's so like, really, it doesn't really make sense for you. Just making this side point, it doesn't really make sense for you to be like, man, I'm so mighty, man. Hey, imagine, just, I'm not gonna go on a tangent, but hey, brother, Hurt, imagine, we get off the stream, and I say, man, I was really bringing it out, man. I was so mighty.
You would never. We have conversations after the stream, y'all. Stream, talk for a little while, sometimes longer than others. Just depends. He would never. I would. Never. He'd be
Yeah,
like, we may tell each other that, like, man, beautiful lesson. I'll praise
right.
Most High. But yeah, he would never.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I've never heard Brother Hurt speak like that either. I've never, I couldn't even imagine Brother Hurt uttering, say, hey, I was really bringing it out, King. Like, I would look at my phone like in disbelief. I'd be confounded.
I'm pretty sure people that do that though.
Yeah, yeah,
I know there's
shoot.
some lessons you feel like better about some than others. Maybe the Most High. You might just feel like you was in the spirit. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's about it. Like bragging on yourself. Like we ain't doing it. We do not do that over here.
Right. It's it's gratitude, toward the Most High chiefly,
Okay.
and that's the point of, a lot of the wisdom that's here within this chapter, Deuteronomy chapter 8. Is, because once you begin to make it about yourself, then that's where you begin to deviate, and you get into a very scary place. And
Like Sister Andrea said, I would like to thank me.
oh yeah, I saw it. I was cranking up. Yeah, but yeah, you start to get into a place where you shouldn't be at, and
Mhm.
man, but all praises. We could and appreciate the added points, King.
Con.
We can move on. You can read the last two verses, 19 and 20.
Con. If you do forget the Lord your God and follow other gods to serve and worship them, I solemnly warn you today. I have to scroll up that you
Oh,
shall.
sorry,
And I'm gonna start back at the top, y'all.
Lord in Christ. Oh my goodness. Pardon me, family. It's my
Definitely,
bad.
definitely got to be a Mac. If you do forget the Lord your God and follow other gods to serve and worship them, I solemnly warn you today that you shall surely perish. Like the nations that the Lord is destroying before you, so shall you perish, because you would not obey the voice of the Lord your God.
All right, so right here at the end of the chapter, we see that Moses, he gives them a solemn warning very directly. He says, if we forget the Most High, which means to neglect God's commandments in the covenant, and if we went after other gods, serving and worshiping them, he testified against them that they would surely perish as the other nations. And so Moses right here, he's closing out the chapter, Basically saying that we're gonna get destroyed if we don't obey the voice of the Most High. Just like the nations that are before Israel, they're getting destroyed. And one quick point I want to make clear, just so there's no type of confusion, because this text, it can be utilized in a way to for people to purport ideas that it's not saying. Um, the text is not conveying that the Most High destroyed the nations because they forgot the Most High. Because a lot of people, they'll try to make that idea be in the text by saying that, yeah, just like the nations, they forgot God. So if you forget God, you're gonna get destroyed like them also. But that's not the idea. That's what even written within the book of Deuteronomy. But shoot, this text or the entire Torah, it doesn't communicate that idea, because the nations never had in the manner of Israel a standing covenant with the Most High. So they didn't, as Israel, was able to ratify a covenant with the Most High at Sinai, and they had to say, these things we will do. Then, like, you would have to, so somebody would have to show that Bible passage where all of the nations said, "Hey, this we will do," and this you kind of got Moab, and you have Ammon, and or the Most High, he just went to them individually. Like you got to show that in the Bible. That's. But people, they make these ideas like there are very strange doctrines that exist. Like they think that the conquest narrative that you see from Deuteronomy going into Joshua and Judges, they believe that that's an evangelism endeavor. Like the nations are getting a chance to turn to the God of Israel, and if they don't, then we get to destroy them. It's like that's not we're not offering them salvation or destruction. We're not offering them any salvation or anything like that. That we're not saying, hey, we want you to come in and be a part of Israel. Like that's not an idea, and that's not an expectation that exists. But what we do see within the scriptures is that there are certain acts and behaviors that the Most High finds disgusting and immoral across the board. And so, by his providence, he decides to purge evil from the earth. We see that in the early Genesis narratives before Israel even exists. Like we see the flood, and Sodom and Gomorrah is another example. Canaan, being removed, from before Israel, that was because of their extremely detestable acts. Like one of the points was, causing their children to be passed through Molech, and the particular practices that went with that. But again, there's no expression of, or there's no judgment that exists within the Bible, or account that says, "Well, the Lord was angry at the nations for expressing faithlessness towards Him." It's not an idea that is in the Bible. You won't find it within the Word of God or the Torah. People may try to play in like the Book of Acts and use points there. I've heard it before, but this is a Torah portion, so we're not even talking about that anyway. But again, this is a solemn warning that Moses is making to the children of Israel. He tells them, don't serve other deities, walk in the way of the covenant, obey the commandments, obey the voice of the Lord, so that you'll live and you won't be destroyed. But that's Deuteronomy chapter 8. You got any points, King, before we end it off?
Just a slight point. So looking at verse 19 and 20, like the Most High, he's warning Israel that, like, hey, if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, you're gonna end up just like these other nations that have other gods that they serve. If you choose to go and worship these idol gods, that's what's gonna happen to you. The same things that you see and witness happen to them, right? So when people say or think about like, well, if Israel's the chosen people, well, why did God create all these other people, these other nations of people? We see an example and a witness right here that he used them as something that was evidence of what he could do if we were disobedient. So he placed these other nations in front of the children of Israel and said, look, you see how they serve these other gods? And I allow them to be destroyed because of what they do and the way that they live, because they're not my children. I do the same thing to you. And we also understand that he uses the other nations, or has used the other nations, as whooping sticks to whoop Israel's butt when we go off and we do things that we shouldn't do. He allows them to conquer us. He allows them to defeat us in war and in battle. So just to make that point, that the Most High, he knows and understands his purpose for each and every person and each and every nation of people. So he created us all for his purpose at the end of the day. So all praise to the Most High. I don't have anything else. Beautiful lesson.
Pardon me, I was on mute. All praise to the Most High. Definitely appreciate you reading, like always, and definitely appreciate the I can't think the supporting points as well.
All praise to the Most High.
Yes, sir. And if there's nothing else, if there's no questions or anything like that, we're gonna close it out with Numbers 6 and 24 on down. And it reads, Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. Yahweh make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. And with that, I'll say peace and shalom.
Shalom, Mark. Shalom, family.
Hey, come on, let's make a toast. Come on, let's make a toast. I give a toast on the feast day. Eat good, drink good, let it replay. We bring it back to the holy days. Babylon, what we celebrate the Lord's day. I give a toast on the feast day. Eat good, drink good, let it replay. We bring it back to the holy day. Babylon, what we celebrate the Lord's day. Have you been looking for a kosher Israelite wine brand? Well, look no further. Ty Roche is the wine brand for you. We have multiple flavor options, and we ship to you. To place an order, contact us on Facebook at Ty Roche, or also on Facebook at Hurt Lit, or on IG at Hurt 2.0. Shalom.